Good evening and welcome to the Monday, June 8th, 2026 Finance and Property Standing Committee public session. Today in person we have Trustee Lin, Trustee Michael Chen, Trustee Carolyn Butterworth, and Trustee Nadeem Mahmood. Online we have Trustee Pamela McCarthy and Trustee Melanie Wright. Trustees, please raise your hand if you have any questions. Your name will be added to the speakers list and the chair will recognize you when it is your turn to speak. The chair will also remind all trustees to ask questions through the chair. First, we will begin tonight's session with the land acknowledgement. The chair will call on Trustee Lin to deliver the land acknowledgement.
Month, and a time to recognize rich history, heritage, and diversity for First Nation, Inuit, and Métis, and I will provide the land acknowledgement. We affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of two treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Elderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Schuylkill Island, and the Chippewas of Beausoleil, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect their relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with these First Nations, and we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Lin. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Without objection, the agenda shall be adopted. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the agenda is adopted. The motion is adopted. The next agenda item is the declaration of conflict of interest. If any member of the Finance and Property Standing Committee has a direct personal interest or direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matter being discussed during the meeting, please state the conflict and the nature thereof. No conflicts declared. Next is the approval of the minutes. The minutes of the May 25th, 2026 Finance and Property Standing Committee public session have been distributed to committee members. Are there any corrections to the minutes? As there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as adopted. Are adopted as written. Next, we have the information items. The information item we have today is the construction project, new elementary and secondary schools, and additions to schools. For this, the chair would like to invite Senior Manager Gerard Paris to speak to the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. There are two updates to the construction project report this month. The board received Minister of Education approval under the Capital Priorities Program for the two-story 14-classroom addition at Unionville High School and for the two-story 9-classroom addition at Dr. G.W. Williams Secondary School. Both projects have been added to Appendix A of your report, which can be found on page 7, and the proposed opening for both projects is September of 2029. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senior Manager Gerard Paris. Do we have any questions? As there are no questions, we'll move on to the next item. This brings us to the decision items. The 2026-2027 draft operating budget is the decision item. The 2026-2027 draft operating report is before the committee for adoption. The chair recognizes Controller Sabrina Wang to speak to the report.
Sabrina? Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, trustees and staff members. I'm pleased to present the operating budget for the 2026-2027 school year. For your convenience, we will be sharing a slide deck on the screen, which will highlight the key elements of the board report found on the page 9 to 62 of your agenda package. We have included the page reference throughout the presentation. Do we have the, okay, perfect. So these slides provide a high-level overview of the framework we use to develop the 2026-2027 operating budget. The proposed budget is balanced and compliant with the ministry requirement and Section 231 of the Education Act, and aligns with the board's multi-year strategic plan. The budget development process was informed by ministry funding, project enrollment, operational requirements, collective agreement obligation, and input received through the board's public consultation process, which generated more than 4,100 responses this year. Next slide, please. So 2026-2027 enrollment projection. Enrollment remains the most significant driver of the board's funding and budget planning. The board's actual enrollment for the 2025-2026 school year was more than 1,500 students lower than originally budgeted. So similar enrollment decline were experienced by many school boards across Ontario. As a result, ministry has advised the board to adopt a more conservative approach for the budget planning. The 2026-2027 enrollment projection was developed following this ministry direction and is based on the average daily enrollment, or ADE, which is the ministry's funding measure calculated as the average of student counts as of October 31st and March 31st, 2027. Pupil of the board enrollment is projected at 118,511 ADE, reflecting decline across both the elementary and the secondary panel, with the elementary panel experiencing a larger decline. International student enrollment is also projected to decline due to recent federal immigration policy change and a reduction on the study permit activity. Those changes continue to impact both the tuition revenue and grant funding, including English as a second language grant. So it is important to note those enrollment figures are projected almost a year in advance, and the actual enrollment may be higher or lower than the projection. As required by the ministry, the board will submit a revised estimate later in the school year based on the actual October 31st, 2026 enrollment and updated March 2027 projection. The enrollment projection forms the basis for the revenue and expenditure assumptions used throughout the proposed budget. Next slide, please. So these slides provide a 10 years overview of enrollment trend within YRDSB. As illustrated in the chart, the board experienced many years of sustained enrollment growth, with the exception of fluctuation during the pandemic, and reached its peak in the 2023, Since then, enrollment has declined in both 2024-2025 school year and the 2025 and 2026 school year. Based on current projection, this trend is expected to continue through 2026, 2027, and beyond. So YRDSB is not alone in experiencing those decline. Ministry has indicated that Ontario is at an enrollment inflection point, with many major GTA school boards experiencing largest decline enrollment, including YRDSB. While some regions outside the GTA are seeing some modest growth, with this offset, the overall province saw a smaller decline. So this trend are being driven by a combination of demographic and economic factors, including lower birth rate, housing affordability challenge, changing provincial migration pattern, and the recent federal immigration policy changes affecting temporary residents and international students. So while those factors are largely outside of the board's control, efforts has continued at both the school and the system level to return students, promote YRDSB programs and opportunities, and support students across the region. Next slide, please. For the core education funding, which remains the board's primary source of operating revenue and is projected at $1.67 billion for the 26-27 school year. Compared to the 25-26 revised budget, it is a decrease of $42.5 million, with decline enrollment continue to be the most significant driver. So as shown on the left side of the slide, enrollment-related funding impact result in a net reduction of $75.2 million. Those impacts including reduction in the enrollment-driven allocation across all the core education pillars. ESL and FSL funding associated with lower newcomers and international student enrollment. Special education funding change result from both enrollment impact and adjustment to the table-based funding components. Those reductions are partially offset by about $22 million in the decline enrollment adjustment allocation. This allocation is a temporary transition funding provided by ministry to help board manage the gradual adjustment to the lower enrollment-driven funding. And if we look at the right side of the slide, the funding model also includes approximately $29.1 million in the targeted funding enhancement, which is related to special programs, staffing cost, and spending requirements. Example, including funding that has transitioned into CoreNet, such as the former IEP initiatives and the dual credit program. The qualification and experience funding, curriculum resources, classroom supplies, and compensation and benefit benchmark adjustment. It is important to note those targeted funding enhancements are accompanied by corresponding expenditure requirement and do not provide additional flexibility to address broader budget pressure. In addition, the funding model including approximately $5.1 million other funding change, including the demographic funding phasing adjustment, transportation funding updates, and non-staffing facility benchmark increase, as well as $1.5 million of the ministry-funded data interest. So those are the interest costs associated with outstanding debenture that were issued to finance eligible capital project in the past. So overall, despite those funding enhancement and other adjustment, core education funding is projected to decline by approximately $42.5 million compared to previous year. At the bottom of this slide deck, you will see the percentage of each component of CoreNet funding. So the largest CoreNet components are the classroom staff funding, which is 56.4%, followed by the learning resources funding, 15.3%, spec education funding, 12.2%, school facility funding, 8.5%, student transportation, 3.5%, and the school board admin funds, 3.4%, interest on debt is 0.8%. Next slide, please. So these slides provide a broader overview of the board's total operating revenue, which are projected to be about 1.707 billion for the 26-27 school year. Included within the total, miscellaneous revenue are projected at 37.9 million. It's a decrease of 2.8 million compared to the previous year. The key year-over-year changes, including lower international student tuition fee, result from declined international student enrollment. The lower permit revenue reflect updated permit revenue projection and the approved cost recovery permit rate model. Increased interest income based on the updated cash flow and interest rate forecast, and lower secondment revenue associated reduced secondment activities and related expenditure. So at the time of this budget was prepared, the ministry had not announced any individual responsive education program allocation, the RAP. As a result, no additional REP funding has been included in the proposed budget, except for those already transitioned into core education funding. So with the total operating revenue is projected to decrease by 54 million, the underlying revenue pressure incorporated into the budget is actually much higher, close to 72.9 million. It's showing on the right side of the slide. This is because reflected the impact of the decline enrollment, the lower miscellaneous revenue, partially offset by the funding, other funding model change. This doesn't include the targeted funding enhancement that accompanied by corresponding expenditure requirement that we explained in the previous slide, which does not provide additional budget flexibility. So the 72.9 million revenue reduction represents our underlying challenge the board has to manage before considering any unavoidable cost increase or other operating pressure. Next slide, please. So these slides provide an overview of the board's proposed operating expenditure budget for the 2026-2027 school year. And you can see the page 18 to 21 and Appendix B of the agenda package. As we have communicated throughout the budget consultation process, public education is a people service organization. Staffing costs represent the largest portion of the board expenditure. As showing on the left side of the slide, approximately 89.3% of our operating expenditure are currently invested in the staffing. Of that amount, approximately 87% directly supports students, classrooms, and schools, including teacher, education assistant, designated early child educator, principal, VP, school secretary, caretaking, social worker, professional and paraprofessional, etc. So the remaining 2.3% support central services that provide essential services to school and the broader system, such as HR, payroll, finance, CEO's office, communication, etc. So given the significant funding reduction and enrollment decline, so staffing and resources adjustment is necessary as part of the budget development process. The proposed 2026-2027 budget, including staff adjustment and a resource realignment based on the projected enrollment, staff to student ratio, collective agreement requirements, and ministry funding parameters. So the budget also reflects a known compensation and benefit benchmark change, including the 1.25% salary benchmark increase for principal and VP, and update to the employee life and health trust fundings. The table on the right side of the slide provides a high-level summary of the proposed department budget. As shown, most departments reflect expenditure reductions compared to the 25-26 revised budget. Those changes are primarily driven by the funding reduction, staffing adjustment, expenditure review, and resource realignment undertaking to align expenditures with available funding. A small number of departments have showing increase, and footnotes has been provided to explain those variances. In most of the cases, the increase related to the department reorganization, like business services and the CEO's office, funding transition, or costs that were previously budgeted elsewhere. Additional detail regarding the department budget and the key variances are provided in the Appendix B of the report. Next slide, please. This slide summarizes the budget, the board's projected financial position. So despite the funding challenge and the operating pressure, the board is presenting a balanced budget that complies with the ministry requirement. The revenue projected at 1.7075 billion, and total operating expenditure projected at 1.706 billion. After accounting for the unsupported amortization, which primarily related to the board-funded capital project, the board's financial position remained balanced. Next slide, please. This slide is renewal and capital allocation. It's included within ministry's building, expanding, and renew school framework. For 26-27, the board is projected to receive about 17 million through the school renew allocation. This funding supports the maintenance, renewal, and modernization of existing school facility. The board is also projected to receive 28.4 million through the school condition improvement program, which supports the renewal and replacement of aging building components and the infrastructure. In addition, about $1.8 million is provided through temporary accommodation funding to support portable classrooms, lease cost, and other temporary space requirements. Additional details can be seen on the Appendix C of the agenda package. Next slide, please. So, although the budget is balanced, several significant pressures and risk remains. As discussed, the continued enrollment decline remains the most significant pressure, as funding reduction often occur more quickly than the board's ability to adjust the certain operating costs. And the board also continue to face pressures related to the staffing and replacement costs, which are difficult to predict and may fluctuate throughout the school year based on operating needs, employee absence patterns, and staffing availability. Also, demand for the special education supports and the service continue to increase, such as EA specialized equipment, professional support, and intervention services. Inflationary pressures continue to impact our utility, insurance, technology, software license, contract services, etc., and ongoing cybersecurity and technology modernization requirements. So while those areas continue to present financial and operating risk, the proposed budget has our best estimate on historical experience and current focus. So the risk is not saying the cost was completely excluded from our budget, but rather than actual result maybe differ from what our assumption used today to develop the budget, and may come in higher or lower than anticipated. So staff will continue to monitor those areas closely and provide updates through our financial reporting cycle of the year. Next slide, please. So here I would like to conclude by returning the public consultation process. More than 41 more than 4,100 responses were received this year, and the highest priority identified by respondents, including health and a safe learning environment, classroom-based support staff, and support for students with special education needs. So despite ongoing enrollment decline and financial pressure, the proposed budget continued to align resources with community priority and the board's multi-year strategic plan. Example including additional $2 million investment in the special education program to support students with special education needs, $1.6 million in new funding for elementary classroom supplies, and $3.6 million in curriculum resources to support consistent curriculum aligned learning resources across the province. The budget also continued to support a number of existing initiatives that respond directly to the community priority, including the mental health and well-being support, empower reading and other literacy intervention, student safety initiatives, and investment in the health and the safe learning environment through the accessibility improvement, HVAC and air quality enhancement, cooling center, and safety security upgrades. So a more detailed list can be seen on the board report. Next slide, please. So it is therefore recommend the board approve the 26-27 operating budget as outlined in the board report. As discussed throughout the presentation, the proposed budget reflects the board's commitment to maintain support for student achievement, health, and well-being while responding to the enrollment decline, funding challenge, and ongoing operating pressure. So develop a balanced budget under those circumstances requires significant collaboration, careful planning, and decision across the organization. So before concluding, I would like to express my thanks to the budget team for their dedication, professionalism, and expertise in developing the budget, and the senior team and other departments across the organization for their collaboration, support, and commitment throughout the entire budget development process. And student, families, community members, school councils who participated into the public consultation process and provided valuable feedback, and the Board of Trustees for your guidance, support, and stewardship throughout this process. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Controller Sabrina Wang, for the presentation. The committee will now move on to questions. Please remember to ask your questions through the chair and in third person. Trustees, do we have any questions? Trustee Butterworth.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, thank you very much for this really comprehensive presentation. A lot has obviously gone into this, and you've had to really make some difficult decisions, and that is very evident. So thank you very much. It's a couple of things I want to just state, and then I have a couple of questions. So looking at like our net enrollment, you know, actual in, I think it was 24-25, we were at about 128,000 students, and we're projected to be around 118,000. So we're looking at, over a couple of years, almost 10,000 students declining, which is a significant chunk of change in terms of funding. So that is for sure very difficult. And then the impact, you're saying it's going to be about $75 million, which again is staggering. A couple of things. Obviously, I'm happy to see that some of our amazing programs have transitioned to core ed funding. And I mean, I don't want to say I'm happy that departments had to make cuts or reductions, but it's it's reassuring, I think, to people, especially on our frontline staff, that everybody had to make reductions. And because a lot of times people see, oh, it's just the frontline people and they feel it, and I totally understand and have empathy for that, but everybody had to do that. So, you know, thank you for being part of the team. So my questions are, so number one, and this is probably a simple one, the money that was promised to, I believe it was just elementary teachers, the $750, is that have a line anywhere in this, or is that going to be separate? So that's number one. And number two, so our Special Education Advisory Committee folks, when they did their presentation on, you know, their input for the budget, they're obviously very worried about the impact that the declining enrollment and reduced funding, whatever, is going to have on our most vulnerable students, and that certainly is a worry for me, and I believe the trustees as well. I mean, all they're asking for is status quo, you know, hoping that nothing more goes. But then you look at the money that, you know, we've spent $22.1 million over budget, and then we're projected to spend $33.6 million over the next school year over what has been allocated to us from the ministry. So very clear that the funding is not keeping up, and I want to say that out loud. And I want to know, because you're presenting a balanced budget, how are we doing this to ensure that our, you know, our most vulnerable see the least, have the least impact on them? So those are my two questions. Thank you. And boy, I used up almost 4 minutes on that. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the $750 for the elementary teachers is in the budget, page 45 of the agenda package, the in-school account. There are $1.6 million new investment into school budget, and will be allocated to school once we approve the budget. Oh, by the way, it's not the full 750, as we explained in the last Finance and Property Committee. It's only $450. Was a new investment. However, there are $300 was coming from the existing core education funding. So 750 will give it to the school, but the new investment, the net investment is only 1.6 million. It's a $450 per eligible teacher.
May I just ask a clarifying question?
Controller Sabrina Wang, are you done your response?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to clarify on that piece.
Trustee Butterworth?
So you said page 45. I'm sorry, I just got to page 45 and I missed. Where did you say it was under? Expenses of
In-school accounts.
In-school accounts. Okay, that's fine. All right, and then my second question. Thank you.
Controller Sabrina Wang.
I will refer this question to our AD Maharaj to respond.
I am going to start my response and then I'll turn it over to Coordinating Superintendent House. As most of you are aware, the Auditor General released a report recently that focused on special education funding. I've been in the education sector for over 30 years, was around when the special...
Thank you. That concludes the time.
Oh,
thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Trustees are entitled to 2 rounds of questioning. So if any trustee has more time that they would like to spend on questions, they're allowed 2 rounds of questioning. Next, we have Trustee Lin.
On to Trustee Butterworth, follow-up questions.
So thank you, Trustee Lin. Staff may answer the question now during Trustee Lin's time.
I'll try and be quick. Special education funding for the province has changed over time. The formula that we currently have does not provide full funding for our students with the highest needs in terms of what used to be called the special incidents portion of funding. So in order to receive that funding, the student needs to be supported by 2 full-time personnel, and the funding only provided for about 0.75 of an FTE funding. So that in itself has always created a gap and a pressure in special education funding. I'll turn it over to Coordinating Superintendent House to sort of pick up from there.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Additionally, I think it's important to note that some of these staffing reductions are attributed to the ending of the CTN contract, the Children's Treatment Network contract, which did fund seconded staff to work for York Region District School Board. Additionally, last year, you may remember that we were able to find some savings through the computers we were purchasing for students with special education needs, and that money was reinvested into one-term funding, which we anticipated was going to end this year. So in alignment with PPM 169, one of the things that we are focusing on is doing, particularly for student mental health work, group settings, so group meetings and support groups for students with similar issues, which has actually been researched to be a better way to service students. So in spite of us having fewer regulated health professionals, us adopting this research-based approach in alignment with PPM 169 is going to allow us to meet those needs in a more robust way and a more appropriate way for students when they have their peers working through those problems with them. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Trustee Lynn?
For that, and so I will make a couple of commentary, and I want to make some ask some questions. So looking at page 24, which is 16 of 18, and 16, 17, 18, I'm glad that we were able to reflect some of the community input from our respective advisory committee that my colleagues mentioned earlier. Although challenged, but we are able to trying best to sustain and continue on those. So first of all, thank you. Number 2, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm seeing the 25-26 revised budget is around 1,500 decline in enrollment. Am I correct that with the revised budget, we have not immediately do the staffing adjustment? And what the net result of this is to also to catch up on the 1,500 revised estimate. That's why we are seeing that such huge number of staffing adjustment. That's my first question, and then I'll continue.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
One second. Thank you, Trustee Lynn. We have another 45 seconds of time. Staff, please go ahead.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. And
Trustee Lynn?
I'm just picking which question to ask right now. The REP, the Responsive Education Program funding, that is not announced yet, or are we anticipating that's it, or do we have some hope on that part of our funding?
Controller Sabrina Wang?
Yes, the REP, except those initiatives being transferred into CORNET, there has not announced any individual REP program. And we have asked the ministry, the answer is will be announced in near future. So that is what we have. We still hope there are some
Thank you.
small programs.
That's time. Thank you. Any additional questions, trustees? Trustee Michael Chen.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on the cafeteria revenue that I see here that we are projecting 100,000 less. I just wanted to make sure that we're not closing any cafeteria at high schools or anything. It's probably just a reduction or something. So just want to clarify on that part. Thank you.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
Yes, so we are not closing any cafeteria, but we project less because we have smaller population of kids. We're expecting probably, well, less revenue coming.
Thank you. Trustee Michael Chen?
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mahmood?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I do not have a question. I have a couple of observations, and I wanted to make sure they are duly recognized here. Looking at the budget document, there's no second opinion on that, how well the staff has worked on it and then delivered in spite of all the pressures we had. Looking at through, I have come across a couple of things which I wanted to highlight here. Hopefully utilizing within my time frame allocated. We do see that there's an unwavering commitment to student achievement. This is the highlight, or to the 4,100 plus responses we have received or input we have received. Definitely keeping that in mind, and that unwavering commitment to student achievement and well-being. Despite of all these pressures and enrollment declines and everything, I think staff has definitely done a tremendous job to make sure that they bring in a budget which is balanced at this time. Similarly, I think that another noticeable thing is management of resources and innovative solutions. For example, noticing that staff has facilitated additional $2 million investment in specialized equipment for students, which, as it was mentioned earlier, it is our continuous support for technology access through cost-sharing program and other things in there. So again, that commitment that where our most vulnerable may be impacted, that was the fear, and that has, through this innovation, been highlighted that they have maintained that support as well. Similarly, I can go on, but I think that our proposed budget for 26-27 reflects a careful balance between our declining revenues and the need to maintain a high-quality program and support for students. So the board has made, of course, targeted investments in priority areas while realigning the resources where required or where needed to make sure that that funding pressure is minimized and then minimize impact on our students and then the classrooms is there. So I fully support what has been put in front of us to go ahead and approve it, and highly commend that the role of staff and then their efforts in maintaining that what is in shape of the budget document in front of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Mahmood. So we will have an opportunity for debate following the questions. Trustee Mahmood, is there any question you have? No. Okay. Yeah. So we will have the opportunity for debate following the questions. Do we have any additional questions, trustees?
So, Chair, if you don't mind, would you be able to distinguish between the question and the debate? Because I thought that was the time we utilized for anything we wanted to have it, right? Would you have a special time allocated for what you're calling as a debate?
So thank you for the question. So we will need a trustee to move the motion for the budget to accept the recommendation of staff. So right now is the opportunity to ask questions from staff. Following the questions from staff, there will be an opportunity for trustees on the committee to debate the motion to accept the recommendation, the recommended 2026-2027 operating budget that's outlined in the report. Does that clarify that? Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Law.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, just jumped right onto the department budget for student services. There are a lot of, quite a number of staff cut there, I imagine. Recently, even some of my schools have experienced some, very challenging time. Uh, Having said that, are there any plans? So I don't want to detail, but I just want to make sure there are plans in place within that department to make sure that the services, uh, to our students at the local school are being addressed and, I guess, sustained.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
I will defer this question to Superintendent House to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Trustee Law. Yes, as I just referenced to Trustee Butterworth, one of the things that we are focusing on is groups, student mental health support groups, which will allow us to then have the individualized supports where we need them in situations that you have referenced. And so part of the work that we have been doing as we've gone through this budget process is to think about ways that we can ensure that the supports that students are getting in the classroom and at the school level is not impacted. And that work will continue next year as we continue to work in alignment with all of the legislations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Law.
Thank you. Just follow up. Would that impact the school level support? For example, the students, the different resources at the school level.
Staff.
Sorry, I'm going to ask for clarification. Trustee Law, I didn't hear the end of that.
Trustee Law.
Oh, sorry, sorry. I guess for the each school you have different resources assigned to the schools. Would they be impacted by the budget?
Would the regulated health professionals, sorry, such as our psychologists and social workers, et cetera? Yes, no, so that will not be impacted. So again, the schools will continue to have somebody that is assigned to them as part of their caseload and will work to support student needs at the school level.
Thank you. Trustee Law.
Thank you, good to hear. Great, thank you. That's the question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Wright.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I'd like to reiterate with the rest of the trustees have said that you have done a fantastic job at getting us to a balanced budget and providing a wholesome explanation of where we're having to make cuts. It's unfortunate, but it is the way of the world at the moment. I do have a quick question. I'm just wondering, a lot of our budget is based on per student enrollment or allocation per student. I'm just wondering if you have a number that you can put to that, how much it was this year versus how much it's going to be next year.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the per student amount fluctuate slightly because of the not 100% of the funding was based on the per student. There are changes on the demographic census data and some table amount. If I may, I can quickly check into that and provide the answer shortly.
Thank you.
Sure.
Trustee Wright.
Thank you, Chair. That would be great. Thank you, Sabrina. That's all. That was my one question that I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I appreciate the exchange and the feedback. I think just want to make a comment. I think this is one of the biggest decline in enrollment in recent time that we experienced as a major board within the GTHA. I think my ask is, first of all, the put together is phenomenal, extremely difficult conversation and collaboration from department. If we can have as an ongoing basis in the 26-27 year, despite the reduction that we are implementing, if we can monitor closely on this reduction or efficiencies. So we call, is it the effect or the efficiency of the negative? We want to mitigate the negative effect on what we are reducing. Because some of the budget line, we may or may not need that positive numbers, and we could reduce less or we can reduce more on certain. So my asking from a governance perspective is from a system level, the monitoring, and then from a school level, listening to the families and staff member on what we are going to do to ensure that we are still following our core business. That would be my comment and my ask at this FMP committee. So thank you. If there's a response, I am happy to take that.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I actually was going to provide the answer to Trustee Melanie Wright, the previous question.
Without objection from any committee members, Controller Sabrina Wang shall be allowed to provide that response and then respond to the question from Trustee Lin after.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. The per pupil funding is roughly at 13,648 in 25-26, and it is at 14,159 in 26-27. But the reason increased, we have to consider the REP has been moved into Cornet, and there are salary percentage increase, the benchmark increase that will make the per pupil investment higher. So that, if I may I ask you clarify your question one more time to Trustee Lane?
It's not a question. It's not a question. It's just a comment, commending, and an ask that we continue to monitor. The changes that we are implementing is still at our student best interest and student centric. That's my ask, and thank you, Controller Wang.
Yes,
Thank you,
of course.
Controller Wang.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, as we have always been done at the budget time, we based our best estimate, and throughout the year, we have bring update. We monitor the expenditure or policy or funding change very closely, and we bring back the updates on the quarterly basis. And we were committed to the student achievement and well-being. It's always in our center of our business.
Thank you. Trustee Lin?
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, do we have any further questions? Trustee Law?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, again, I'd like all the trustees, thank you very much, team, to put this budget together. I got to jump into the inclusive school community service budget. A couple of things. I noticed there are also challenges in there. Just one thing, the reduction in the staff, and do we have a plan to make sure the right staff resource representation to support the cultural and demographic needs locally in each particular district? That's number one. And number two is that I noticed I think last budget we put in $5,000 for community event sponsorship. I think in the past year, we've seen a lot of success for this type of investment. Just wonder, are there any room for further investment or higher investment in this area to promote more community engagement? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CEO Bill Colbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Trustee Law. Thank you very much, Trustee Law, for the question. And the answer is yes. We have put considerable thought into the cross-departmental work that we take place to make sure we're engaging all of our communities. And I will
confirm with you that we've put a lot of thought and care into that and what the operations are going to look like going forward to make sure that we are strategically connecting with our communities. As you're crystal clear aware, human rights and inclusive education is a pillar in our multi-year strategic plan, and we want that ingrained across our district. And through our cross-departmental approach, we will make sure that we're working on doing that. And in regard to the dollar value that you've asked, regarding the community outreach, we continue, just like the previous question to or comment from Trustee Lynn, we will, with ongoing, be monitoring that opportunity throughout the year. Thank you, Trustee Law. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Law?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, CEO Cooper. I think that's good. I mean, as long as we keep our eyes on it, and, that's great moving forward. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Michael Chen?
Thank you, Chair. Since we're in a public meeting, I think it's a good opportunity to clarify where that one-time revenue from Manulife is about to the public. So every dollar counts, so I think it's good to let the public know where this money is coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is a legacy benefit plan amount sitting in our Manulife. That was before the benefit trust moved to the provincial benefit trust. There are some, we just find out there are some legacy balance which belong to the board. We are going to fully utilize that to help us balance the budget. Thanks.
Thank you, Controller Wang,
Thank
for
you.
clarifying that. Thank you very much. I understand every dollar counts to help the balance the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, does anyone have first or second round of questions? Trustee Butterworth?
I already forgot what I had to say. So can I look for unanimous consent to allow Trustee Lynn to continue with his question? I'll give him my 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any objection to allowing Trustee Lynn to ask a third question? As there's no objection, Trustee Lynn may ask the question.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues, Trustee Butterworth, for that. As I listen to this exchange, I think we are not just here to just comment. It's not here just to balance the budget. I am listening to Comptroller Wang's forward thinking. I think as a school board, as York Region District School Board, we have to continue to look at how to rebound from the difficult times, even though it is, we are expecting that. But I'm hearing some good information from the report on a student program offering. I understand that we're in the process of accrediting 2 more secondary schools to provide IB programs. I am also seeing that right now we experience decline in international students. Back to my colleague Trustee Law comment on community engagement. I think if we want to rebound our student enrollment and population, it may require some of our investment for our future opportunity to attract local students and also to attract international students. So that's just my comment from listening to my colleagues and staff input. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Controller Sabrina Wang.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the board has been continue the advocate and to promote the school board, our York Region School Board's program and opportunity, trying to recruit and return every student as we can.
Thank you. Trustee Lin? Thank you. Do we have any further questions from trustees? Okay, there are no further questions. Is there a mover for the recommendation to approve the 2026-2027 operating budget as outlined in this report? Trustee Chen moves the motion. It is moved that the York Region District School Board approves the 2026-2027 operating budget as outlined in the report. Is there any debate? As there's no debate, the question is now on the adoption of the motion that the York Region District School Board approves the 2026-2027 operating budget as outlined in this report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no.
Trustee Mahmood in favor.
Trustee Lin in favor.
Trustee Michael Shin, yes.
Trustee Carolyn Butterworth, yes.
Trustee Melanie Wright, yes.
Pamela McCarthy, yes.
The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The committee recommends that the board approves the 2026-2027 operating budget as outlined in this report. The next Finance and Property Standing Committee public session is scheduled for Tuesday, September 29th, 2026. Seeing that there are no further questions, we'll move on to adjourn the Finance and Property Standing Committee public session at 8:04 p.m. If there are no other items of business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, trustees, committee members, staff, for joining tonight's public session. And we will have the private session on a separate link for the members online. Thank you.